Editing Sam here. Welcome back to my channel. This is part 2 of an Awakened challenge call. You don't necessarily have to watch part 1, but I will go ahead and link it in the corner of this video so that if you do want to watch part 1 before you watch part 2, then you can go ahead and do that. But otherwise, you can totally watch it after you watch this video. There is nothing that will not make sense if you decide to just watch this video first. So let's get into it.
All right, based on the study, you can find the study. I hope we'll reference it later somewhere in the Facebook group for you if you want to look at it. Also combined with, which is kind of the gold standard on leptin, written very long time ago, as you can see. Okay, but a lot of you never even heard about this. I read this book like 2 decades ago or something at this point. Mastering Leptin, and these 5 rules of leptin have been leveraged by everyone, everywhere, in every leptin kind of reset program to date. We may have added some new things, some fancier things, and some things that we've learned along this. It's an outstanding book if you're super into science and you want to know more. But I took the best of both of these things and I combined them. That's where this came from, not from my own magical mind. It came from what the science is, what I've seen work after 25 years of taking care of patients as well. Okay, we can go to the next. Let's see what is. I don't even know what I'm going to talk about exactly. Okay.
That's why we love Dr. Rimka. We just put it something on the screen. She's like, I can talk about that.
Okay. So why are you here? I hope so. If you haven't read yet, there's a lot of hormones. The hormonal system is a beautiful symphony. When I figured out in endocrinology class in graduate school, I took endocrinology in undergrad, but in graduate school, it finally hit me. My mother loved Young and the Restless and As the World Turns. So I watched a lot of soap operas if I was homesick from school or something, or before I was, before kindergarten, right? And the drama and how everybody was all connected with everybody and everybody's sleeping with somebody, and that's the cousin and the sister and the this. And I mean, it's just like, wow, but no, that's their uncle, but I thought it's a stepbrother, but no, but they're this. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay. How can you keep up with these 2 families where everybody is related? That's kind of like your hormones. Everybody's related and doing things. And it's so interesting. As soon as I realized hormones were like soap operas, I just started nailing it. And I saw the drama. I gave them personalities. I would have them, they'd have conversations. I started tutoring all my friends. They're like, how do you remember all this? I'm like, watch. I'm like, this is and I would, anyway, I would make them characters. And so I really started to love it. Leptin and insulin are your two important ones. There's a whole bunch more. Please, I'll probably end up talking about cortisol and all kinds of other things eventually. But, we got to keep it simple. 29 pages, not 290.
Simple. 29 pages is way too much for somebody who is starting this. It's again, setting them up for failure. Nothing about this is simple. 29 pages. It's not simple. She's a chiropractor. She's not an endocrinologist. She's not a registered dietitian. I just don't feel comfortable personally taking this type of advice from a chiropractor.
Speed up the metabolism. Let's go. So you have really fit people, like say somebody like a Colin, real lean, who actually often have to do some biohacking to raise their leptin. They're trying to increase that leptin, actually, and why is that? Because your body fat is an organ. That white body fat that you can grab onto and be like, what is this that you've been talking negatively to, telling her she was fat and stupid and ugly, and she's been saving your life, and you haven't been kind and gracious and said thank you, right? So that fat is an organ. It's an endocrine. It makes a lot of hormones, a lot of them. Leptin is one of them that it's supposed to make. When you have a lot of fat, you make a lot of leptin. So then the body says, oh, you need to burn the fat, boo. You're too fat. So burn fat, okay? It speeds up your metabolism and it says, I need you to stop eating. Slow it down. So cut the hunger, speed up the metabolism, open the fat stores, and let's go, okay? And that's what it does to bring you back into balance. When you get too skinny, not enough fat, right? Leptin goes really low then. And then it says, we need to make her hungry, like real hungry, and slow the metabolism, stop burning that fat. We can't afford to lose anymore. And by the way, don't let her get pregnant. I'm going to talk about women because I'm probably more women in here than not. Men, extrapolated to you, okay? So that's what leptin is doing. The problem is when you've gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and fatter and fatter and fatter, and there's reasons why this happened. We'll get into that throughout the 8 weeks a little bit, and definitely in the circadian biology course that you guys have coming to you at convention, which I've already leaked because Ashley's saying
What?
They know it's coming. I've been leaking. Your husband.
Okay.
Your husband makes me leak everything. No, that sounded, I apologize. I say things, I don't mean it. I just don't. I'm a Midwesterner. I don't know. I went to Catholic school. Anyway, Humor is good for you guys. It's a vagal tone exercise. You should laugh more.
I hope lots of people are laughing. We can't hear you, but I hope you're laughing.
Laughing is good. Laughing makes you skinny.
Might I point out another toxic trait that they are pushing, which is skinny. And I know like cancel culture and everybody's offended and all of this. Skinny is not a great term to use. It is damaging to both sides of the spectrum. And again, if she is somebody who is trained in these mental health conditions and issues, then she should be aware that skinny isn't the best term to use for people who may have body dysmorphia or disordered eating. It can be triggering. In my opinion, it's just a toxic term to use. I prefer the word healthy. Even when I'm like working to lose weight and be at a healthy weight range for myself, I don't say I want to get skinny. I just say I'm working on getting healthier. I want to be healthy because then everything else comes along with it. That was a side tangent and I apologize, but let's carry on.
And now the leptin's been really high for a super long time. And it's like screaming, Pookie, stop, screaming in the brain. And then it's like children, like a dog barking, where eventually you just numb out to the noise. So your brain numbed out to the noise. And so now it thinks it's low, right? So we got high leptin, but your body thinks it's low. So it makes you crave and hungry and not be fertile and slows down fat metabolism. Zenith in particular is bringing that down over time. But the 5 rules of leptin are helping to do that as well. It's because you've been breaking those rules for years that your leptin got all out of whack. So we must reverse engineer the problem. That's what we're doing. All right. Insulin is a beautiful hormone your pancreas makes. Okay. A couple of little places that says store energy, shuttle energy into cells. Okay. The first thing it's going to always go after, by the way, is alcohol. Okay. It wants to go after alcohol first. If you have any alcohol, it's doing that first. Nothing else is happening until the alcohol's gone. We're not doing anything else. Then we're going to go after glucose, and then we're going to go after fructose, right? Then we're going to go after some fatty acids. Then we're going to go after like deep fat. Okay. It takes a long time before it starts digging into your fat stores. I hope you understood what I just said there a little bit, which means you should reverse engineer what you're putting in your mouth. Okay. But it's only so much energy can go into your cells. And so when it's done, it's like, well, put it somewhere. It puts it in the fat. It says store the energy for later. Insulin is your fat storage hormone. You want to be thin, you better have a low insulin. You better change everything in your life to keep yourself living an insulin-controlled lifestyle. If you're living an insulin-controlled lifestyle, you will be automatically living an anti-inflammatory, inflammation-controlled lifestyle, right? They all go together. They fit in so beautifully synergistically. So you kind of worry about a couple things and you're going to cover almost everything. All right. I'll go to the next one. I think we did that okay, right?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay. So a big problem in most of the diet culture and what's going on in different plans is going after where we're going to cut. We're going to restrict, right? Basically, they end up starving you of the most important thing you end up needing is protein. The most satisfying, right? The thing that gives the word we say is satiety is a real natural protein in a whole food state will always have a ton of fat with it. Those two together spike a very slow insulin. The insulin stays very low, but you've gotten tremendous energy from the fat and you've gotten tremendous body repair and building from the protein. Protein in and of itself, the older we get, when your kids are 15, 16, I have a 17-year-old son. He doesn't have to do as much to build muscle because of his hormones. Hormones are super strong in children. They are supposed to be, okay? And they just make muscles go. Their growth hormone is through the roof, testosterone, everything is super high. It packs on, they're growing. It's designed, I need it to grow. Put more bone, put more muscle, put more everything. That's what it does. At a certain point, the body doesn't do that anymore. It says, okay, about 30, things are going to really start to drop off. And 40, they drop again. And 50, they drop again. Okay, you just keep it dropping. Things just drop, in case you don't know. Okay, everything.
I don't know. Gravity, Terry says, yes.
It is what it is, right? So they're cutting this out and telling you to like, everybody has this idea like, okay, oh, well, you know, I just need to eat salad. And then you can only white knuckle yourself for so many weeks. And then you're also trying to increase your activity, right?
Okay, so again, everything that she's saying about protein is factual. It is true, but she's skipping all of the steps before. Again, you cannot just automatically assume that somebody is going to be able to consume 140 grams of protein in one day immediately when they have not been eating that amount of protein. You need to start small, and it took me like 4 months to get to the point where I was getting in that much protein. It's not something you can just start in one day. And she's making it, I don't know, she's oversimplifying the whole thing, which again is setting them up for failure.
And I'm gonna lift weights, and I'm gonna do Zumba, and I'm gonna do Pilates. And like 5 weeks into it, you're gonna crack because you're starving. Because your appetite now is through the roof. Because you haven't been eating enough food, and the most important one is the protein and the fat, the real thing. And because not eating enough makes you hungry, by the way, and increasing exercise makes you hungry, by the way. So how do you think you're gonna do both of those things without eventually breaking and going into Ben and Jerry's? It's gonna happen. So we have to find a way that we keep you super satisfied, incredibly nourished. So there's no part of your cells that feel they're starving. Your brain doesn't think it's starving. It's not in fear mode. Your cells are finally starting to get nourished. We're burning the things. We're finally like unlocking the fat. It's like, oh God, how do I do it? Oh, okay, I open a door a little bit. And then it sneaks out a little bit of fat occasionally because you're not metabolically flexible right now. If you're here trying to lose weight, I already know you're not. All right. So I'm combining the protein study with the leptin mastering reset rules. And it all centers around this because it's keeping insulin low and it's giving you everything you need. Every essential nutrient is in the animal protein, everyone on earth, period. That's a fact. Okay. So there's lots of things they'll say this is essential. No, they aren't. You need protein, fat, and a few things, zinc, B vitamins, choline, it's all in there. So you don't have to be using 18 books and calculators you don't need to worry about all that tracking, right? If we get this in you, we're going to cover everything else. We'll go to the next one. All right, these are really important. And we're going to try to go very slowly, right? So the plan was written in such a way, like I just made assumptions. Let me assume you're eating 5-6 times a day. Let me assume we're leptin resistant. Like and we're going to slowly help you graduate this. So some of you may not break all of these rules right now. Okay, that's great. Awesome. You're ahead of the game. And some of you are breaking all of them. The most important one, no, hands down, is not eating after dinner, right? And it's a huge sign of leptin resistance and leptin derangement when you're wanting to eat after dinner, late night cravings, any kind of craving, really, the late night stuff, like can't fall asleep. Oh, I just want something. That's a massive sign. You don't need to get your blood labs drawn, guys, if that's what's going on. I'll just tell you right now, if you're overweight and that happens, I already know. I could guess your labs. All right. That's the most important one. We want you to start. Please know you probably won't be 100%. This is not
so toxic. It just doesn't stop spewing from her. The toxicity is coming out of her ears. Please go to the doctor regularly. Get your labs drawn. Don't listen to her like you don't have to get your labs drawn. You never know what could happen. If I had listened to her, I would have never gotten my labs drawn and I would have never known that I'm insulin resistant. So I can't stand it. Also, she still hasn't addressed the sunglasses.
For perfection, as I posted it earlier. This is about you taking a 1% movement every single day and staying consistent and finding a pattern and a way of life that is the rest of your life. You've got to live with this. You've got to live with your body and you got to live with your food choices and your movement choices. And, I don't want you to start picking up some activity you absolutely despise. Why? Find fun things, play. This should be fun. Your life should be full of more joy. Joyful people are always healthier. And I don't care if you're miserable today, pretend to be joyful. Start practicing. Okay. So that's the one we want you to focus on, like for this week is the big one. Really try to work on that. Now, the way to get there is to be eating enough throughout the day. And many of you will say, God, I'm not used to eating this much. I know, it's fine. Just try. Don't make yourself sick. Don't hurt yourself because you're taking Zenith and it is an appetite, suppressant. It's going to make you feel full. That's good. That's fine. Just do the best you can. We're going to work on it. You're typically going to end up eating 3 meals. People who are really healthy can be at 2. It's fine. But we're just keeping it basic for this.
3 meals. That's it? And you want to get all that protein in 3 meals? Oh my God.
You're not going to eat really large meals. The reason people, believe it or not, in one meal, if people who just eat OMAD 1 meal a day, like for years, they can become leptin resistant because of just that activity. An oversized meal creates a massive explosion of hormones and you can become leptin resistant, and the science proves it. The high protein breakfast, like if you can just focus on, that's what breakfast is. Don't eat, in an ideal situation, don't eat any other carbs and sugar at that time, because then you're setting up the low insulin for the whole day, speeding up your metabolism. The body is designed for leptin to be highest around noon. That's really designed for the biggest meal of the day. So people used to have like just protein. They would do like protein and coffee at like 6 in the morning, and then they go out to the farms and they would do crop things or whatever, milk the cows, and they'd come at about noon and eat a massive meal. And then dinner would be a very small thing around 4 or 5 o'clock. It wasn't that the big meal was always lunch, and your physiology actually says that's what you're supposed to do. Now, again, we're not striving for perfection. I'm just telling you how your body is designed, what the natural rhythms want to do. And then we're going to just look at keeping the carbohydrates down because those are going to keep the insulin the highest. And so we have a glycemic index at the end, very general one, just kind of basic to give you an idea so you can think, oh, that's what that does. And sometimes it's shocking when you look things up. Like the idea that I'm not telling you to eat a Snickers candy bar, but a Snickers candy bar is a less blood sugar rush insulin response than 2 pieces of whole wheat bread. Like you wouldn't think that, but actually that's a fact.
Everyone runs out and eats Snickers bars instead.
That was my pregnancy. That was my pregnant craving. I do like a Snickers. I ain't gonna lie.
Dr.
So-
Rimka said, eat a Snickers.
Yeah, right? That is not what Dr. Rimka said. However, I think it's better for you probably than 2 pieces of whole wheat bread. I mean, I'm just gonna say, except for those peanuts. But that's another story. All right, are we cool on that?
Hey, Dr. Rimka, could you hit on it a little bit? Can you hit on intermittent fasting? We have a lot of people who are doing that, and you do discuss how actually for them it might be better to start doing those 3 meals a day. To
Yeah,
make
well,
sure they're not
because a
eating
lot
like
of people are
10
under
and-
eating. So it depends. You know, here we have the camp of, we have the you are overeating, snacking too much, eating late at night. And then we have the people who've been eating only once or twice and been starving themselves, they're under eating. Now, I can't tell through like, you know, voodoo on a screen, which one you are, right? But they're end up with these 1 meal a day. It's often women, they're waking up too early, they're only eating once, they're like living on coffee and cortisol and adrenaline and just nervous energy, and their metabolisms have had to shut down because their brain thinks they're in a life or death state all the time. You will never lose weight or heal if your brain is in fear. It will not happen. Everything you don't learn in that state. It's impossible. That's not how neurology works. So typically, again, you know, you have to, I'm a 25-year long-term extended water faster. Okay. I've done many 10, 15-day fasts in my life over 25 years.
No! Water fasting is so bad. To even bring that up in this community, people are going to start Googling it and start doing it, and I can't. It's just getting worse as we go on. It's so bad.
But I never start people doing that to lose weight. That is a very specific protocol for a very specific reason. Most women do well eating in that 8 to 12 hour window, which means like, I don't even consider that fasting. Like, but people are calling that intermittent fasting. Like, not eating 12 hours is not fasting, but okay, you can call it that.
It's literally fasting. It's literally fasting. Like, it is fasting. To say that not eating for 12 hours isn't fasting, it's fasting. We all fast. When we sleep, we are fasting. Nobody goes around and says, oh, I'm fasting. But that is literally what you're doing. When you're not eating, you are fasting. That's just another way that she is spewing garbage, and you could tell that she's just making up at this point. Like, there's a reason that breakfast is called breakfast, and it's spelt break fast, because it's the first meal that you're eating in the morning after you've been fasting all night. You are literally fasting. And the reason I get so riled up about that is only because she is positioning herself to be an expert in this and to be the leader of the challenge. In my opinion, she's not educated on this to do it at this extent and work with these people who, it's just not good. It's not good.
In the 1950s to the 60s, the average amount of meals per day were 2, and the average amount of fasting was 16 hours. That was normal. Nobody put a stupid scientific name on it. That was just called normal life, and everybody was thin. Okay. So just some of you will need to add more food in. And if you're only going to eat 2 meals a day, without a doubt, the science is very clear. It should be breakfast and lunch. That's what you should do if you're trying to lose. If you're eating lunch and dinner and you're overweight, maybe just change the timing. Timing matters more.
I love that somebody is just like drawing. Like, if you're in a Zoom it's never happened to me, but if you're in a Zoom, you can like draw on presentations or whatever, and somebody's iPad keeps popping up and like crossing things out. It's kind of funny.
Anything. If you can follow the 24 hours, that you should never eat when it's dark. Try that. That's not one of these rules, but it's like a new leptin rule, because now we understand leptin's controlled by light. So yes, you can do some intermittent fasting. I think you need to just be.
So here she states that leptin is controlled by light. That is not fully false. Sunlight does have an effect on your leptin. Studies have shown that, but not a large effect. The primary effect on your leptin is going to be your fat tissue, also known as your adipose tissue. So for her to just come out and say, we all know light controls leptin, that's not fully true.
Some of you are maybe doing too much of it. So if you're eating, men can be in the 6 to 10 hour window. and women 8 to 12 kind of a thing. And please, if you are ovulating and stuff, please know you have periods. That is going to change week by week. Be kind and gentle and generous with yourself. You will be hungrier before your period. You will want carbs. Eat them. Okay? Do not belittle yourself. Do not degrade yourself. You'll be tired. You won't want to work out. There's no punishment. That's what your body is trying to do. It's doing it for a reason. Okay? But you just don't eat like cake.
Or a Snickers bar.
Yeah, like, you have a sweet potato or something. And
No, eat the cake. Do you know what happens is like, you'll have a sweet potato, which by the way is not cake. It's not cake. You're still going to have that craving. You can eat cake. Unless you have an allergy or an intolerance to something in the cake, eat the cake. There is nothing wrong with having a piece of cake. And there's just so much toxicity.
Again, if you've been doing something and it's not working for you, I mean, the question was, is it working for you? If it's working for you, keep doing it. But if you're here, you're telling me I'm overweight. So I'm going to suggest something you're doing is not working. So we should change it. I'm sure Colin has had plenty of those clients where you increase their food and they're stunned that they lose 5 pounds that week. They're like, how did I just lose weight by 8? I'm like, because you're starving and we had to increase your metabolism. I had to turn the engine back on. So it's a thing for some people, okay? A lot of women undereat.
Dr. Rimka, do you want to touch on the 1 gram of protein per ideal body weight on here?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so the easy calculation, you can read that ProTage study and you can go through all this 0.8 gram a kilogram, blah, 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 blah. You can knock yourself out, have fun with it. On average, right in the middle of the road is to basically say, okay, an easy calculation, middle of the road is, I want to be 135 pounds. If I'm 180 pounds today, but I want to be 130 pounds?
Yeah.
I need to eat like a 130-pound person, which would be ideally to maintain high bone density and high skeletal muscle mass, and low fat would be to eat 130 grams of protein. Now, that is not weight. That is per what the ounces are. So like a 4-ounce piece of ribeye is like 35, 40 grams of protein, to give you an idea. And so he's like, well, how much then do I need to eat to hit 130? 1 egg is only 6 grams of protein. Right? You take 6 cups of quinoa to get to the same amount as 4 ounces of steak, for example, right? So you have to say, well, how much do I need to eat? It's not a weight measurement. And certain things are just higher in protein, dairy counts. I don't want that to be the center of your eating though, of course. Is that enough, Colin, you think, that I explained it? Do I need to say anything else? Oh, yeah, it was good. Okay, sorry. So that's where that number came from. And that's what we're shooting for. So that plan is based on about a 1,500 calorie-ish. Now, if you're a man, you need to go up a little bit more. If you're a very small woman, you might have to be at 12 or 1,300, right? So, but that way the grams of protein kind of automatically let everybody adjust it appropriate to their size. It's instantly like, that's your tool. Like, well, like this one needs to eat 130. This one needs to eat 175 grams. This one needs to eat 200. Like, it's very different. And so it automatically, the calories and energy go with that. Automatically. You don't have to worry about macros and all that right now. It's too complicated and too stressful, honestly.
She just said that macros is too complicated compared to their 28-page plan. Macros is too complicated. I beg to differ, Dr. Rimka. I beg to differ.
And the science backs this recommendation. You will find the majority of functional medicine doctors in the field. This is the exact recommendation everyone's making. Is that good?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm laughing because Diana, I'm the same. She's like, I will do whatever Dr. Rimka says. I'm the same robot. I will do whatever Dr.
We're going to start you slow because many of you, if you haven't been eating properly, gut microbiome change, it changes for what you eat, right? So we'll slowly, stomach acid levels will change. If you have a congested fatty liver, and I bet 90% of you in here do, the liver sends a deranged signal to the stomach and the stomach acid is poor. And then the pancreas, the 3 of them work together. And so they have to slowly start to heal and you stop poisoning your body. It's amazing how it starts to clean itself. All right.
Speaking of liver, let's hit on that first weight loss. This is going to be fun for everybody.
It just is what it is. The number one problem for most people in the weight loss journey is alcohol. It is a toxic poison to the liver, to the brain, to every part of your body. You stop fat burning for at least 24 to 48 hours. Typically after this, your growth hormone will go down, your testosterone will go down, estrogen will go up. It always it causes anxiety. That's what it does. It kills a lot of brain cells. There's nothing beneficial about it. The people who are cherry picking data to say, oh, a glass of red wine or resveratrol, they just want to drink. That's it. We'll just tell the truth. I mean, you can have your wine. Just tell the truth. Stop lying to yourself. Okay. At least you know what you're doing, and then you can make decisions to counteract that and not act like you didn't understand what happened. Okay. So if you can, that's a big one. Okay. And if you're going to drink it, I'd rather you drink it at lunchtime than dinner. I mean, I'm just saying.
Day drink. Now,
Oh gosh, right? Day drinking and Snickers. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Hashtag she's nuts. Okay. So then a few other things. A short walk, just 10 minutes after a meal, brings blood sugar and insulin down tremendously.
That is also very true. When I was first diagnosed with insulin resistance, my physician had told me, like, whenever you eat, just go for a walk, and it does help. So
Eating in front of a screen, any kind of screen, any type of device, people go out of their bodies, they dissociate, and they overeat. This is very well known. Please don't let your children eat in front of screens. Please stop it. Please sit down with each other. Please be present. You will naturally eat less, and you'll eat slower, and you'll stop, and you'll be more satisfied. Okay. The protein for breakfast is a big one. Food order. This is one I've used for decades, and it's worked on everybody. Simple. Sometimes I don't even do anything except this. I say, okay, look, I get this is tough. All you do is eat all the protein on your plate first, then eat all the carbohydrates, then eat all the sugars. And they're like, what? I'm like, well, the sugars are alcohol and fruit and dessert, and carbs are like and potatoes and rice, grains. Okay. And a carb is like a vegetable, a leafy green, low glycemic, carrots, spinach, broccoli, stuff like that. Okay. And the protein would be an animal protein. Back to protein real quick. By protein, we mean a complete protein. You can food combine vegetarian things and make a complete protein, but it does take some effort. Okay. Every animal protein is automatically complete, meaning it has all of the essential amino acids. It is a complete protein. Your body has everything it needs. It doesn't need to do magic and put things together in a strange way. Collagen does not count as protein. You must count those calories, track what you're doing, but it is an incomplete protein. It's very important for joints and methylation, but it is not building any muscle. We're trying to build muscle. Okay. I think that was it. And I mean, look, the word diet, the first three, why do you want to die?
it's wild to me because this whole slide, I agree with almost everything she said, but she is contradicting everything she said with toxicity. Like, it's spewing. Like I said, it's coming out of her ears. It's everywhere. Toxicity everywhere.
I mean, I don't get it.
How come I've never even considered that?
Yeah.
That's
I'm
my
not looking to die. Okay. So let's move on from that idea. You're not doing that. This is the rest of your life. So you'll find the foods and the plan and things that work for you. Right. Okay. Are you good? Colin, am I good? Did I say anything?
Yeah, you nailed
I'll
it.
let Colin be my guy. They say this, say that. Okay. Hydration gets a little tricky. Water. Everybody gets like whatever. Main thing you need to know, healthy, super healthy. So I'll say this caveat. Most of the stuff we know about studying humans are from unhealthy people. We don't study healthy people. We're not getting these indigenous cultures very much in studying their labs and studying their numbers and studying what they're doing. We have some old anthropological studies, people, explore and watch what they do. And we're like, wow, we have a little bit of that, but we don't, everything we look at are based on sick people living very unnatural lives. So there's a lot of questioning if any of that's even that valid, to be honest. Now, hydration, super healthy, fit people that are very metabolically flexible, ketogenic, they burn a lot of fat, they make a lot of water naturally. That's nobody here, right? Most of us, you're not metabolically flexible. So your cells inside are dehydrated and the fluid outside is probably dehydrated. Your blood is 90% water, for example. So the water you drink will go into like the blood and it'll go into the lymph and it'll lubricate joints, but it is not getting inside the cells. That's a little bit different. That's what we're going to do with your sleep and with what you're eating to try and get that to happen. You must put a little bit of salt or electrolytes inside this water.
And please, not your table salt. Can you tell me what kind of salt?
So the problem with salt, and what Danielle and I have been back and forth, we're going to eventually have to come up with a list for you guys of some approved good products and actual safe, non-counterfeit proof resources. And I'm going to talk on that as well briefly. So like Kalima is a brand of sea salt, Redmond's is a salt. There's only a few. Then the problem with salt right now is the 90% of them have microplastics in them. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but we have poisoned our environment so much that toxins, little balls of plastic are in the salt. Okay. So you really need to be careful with the salt you buy. Kalima and Redmond's are two good brands. There's a few more I can
Yes, Jamie, there we go.
We'll list some posts for you to see that. But the majority, it could be a little pinch. Now, if you wanted something delicious, Redmond makes a electrolyte called Relight. I like Cellcore's CT Minerals. Element, LMNT is a delicious little packet. Well, they have a little bit of stevia, a little bit of flavoring, but if you're like getting bored, you might be like, this is the most delicious, like Gatorade-y thing with no sugar, right? So it's salty, magnesium, sodium, potassium. And if you're working out and sweating, you need even more. So if you just put a little bit of salt though in your water and you stir it like a vortex, you kind of mimic it coming up out of the earth like spring water. Please let the water, I get nervous with people overhydrating. Don't be going for this gallon of a day nonsense. You should just be thirsty or not thirsty. However, your hormones are deranged and you're not getting good things. The science is a little bit confusing on this because again, you're studying sick people, but I'm going to go with a general consensus. Let's go with drinking like 8 ounces of water for every hour that you're awake. Let's go for somewhere in the 8 to 10 hour range. So it's like somewhere like 8 to 10 glasses of 8 ounces of water. And most of that's because most of you will be super dehydrated. Put a little bit of salt in it. Plus Zenith requires you drinking more water. So that's a good gauge for most people in here versus that. And there's another calculation on 4% of your body mass. I don't want to get into too much science on that. Is that good?
That's perfect.
Just drink the water. She oversimplified some things, and then this, she's overcomplicating it. Like, we don't need to be putting salt in our water. That is sometimes beneficial. There are some studies that show it is, some that show it is not. Just drink water. Don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to go and get stuff. Electrolytes are beneficial. I have had a good experience with Liquid IV. I know Julie Jo talks about Liquid IV. She's an affiliate with Liquid IV. She's a fellow anti-MLM creator, if you don't know who that is. But like, we don't need to overcomplicate it. Just drink water, get your electrolytes. We don't need to stir it like it's coming out of the earth from the spring. Just drink the water. Just drink the water.
That water clean, you guys. If you're drinking tap water, it's got fluoride, chlorine, benzodiazepine, birth control pills, and a whole bunch of other problems. So we can talk about that, and I can, talk to Danielle about, here's a couple of really good water filters, or you can get spring water. You just be careful. That's my concern with water. Yeah.
Right.
There's so many people out there saying that all of this stuff is bad. And I agree that there are bad things. There are bad things, right? But we overcomplicate it so much that we get so afraid of going to the grocery store and buying things, and we're trying to read the labels and figure out what chemical is this, what name is this, and what's in our food. It gets so overwhelming. And again, you just get so overwhelmed that you give up and you're just like, forget it. I'm not going to pay attention to anything, and I'm just going to eat whatever is put in front of me. And I just drink the water. If it's clean water, drink the water. We don't have to overcomplicate it. We don't have to go into ingredients, what's coming out of the tap water, what filter you should use. If you should go get Kangen water, please don't. But yeah, just don't overcomplicate it. Drink water.
Perfect. And I think we've hit on this quite a bit, the high protein breakfast, not eating after dinner. I'm just going to, once again, the nourishment plan has weekly goals. So here's a snippet, and here's the goals for week 1. It kind of goes over it. So just starting off this week with focusing on your breakfast. If you're like, oh my gosh, that's so much protein, like Dr. Rimka said, it's not high protein, it's adequate protein, but we just haven't been taught this stuff. So
but you start slowly, right? If you're not used to eating breakfast, and then for you, that might be, 2 sausages. It might be 2 ounces of steak, right? Like, it might be 2 eggs. Like, I'm okay with that. If you're like, I haven't had breakfast in 5 years, I'm like, okay, that's okay. Let's start something. We're going to wake up the bacteria in your gut and your brain to be like, oh, it's morning. This is what we do. Yes, this is what you do. Let me give the cortisol something to do with itself. Like, let's give it the energy, right? So you do that, right? You see, we're going to slowly build. It's 8 weeks, you guys. Okay, but this is where we want to start, because I'm trying to stop that late night eating. And there's all these other things, community, accountability, and stuff.
Perfect. So you guys just got a bunch of truth, a bunch of knowledge. Like I said, most people pay big bucks for this. So yes, please don't slip into Dr. Rimka's DMs, her messages. She, as you can tell, she's willing to get on these calls and give you guys so much information, but please don't go to her. She's not gonna be able to answer everybody's.
And it costs me money. You're not helping me. So I have to pay 2 people to deal with you. It's like, it's difficult. Like, please stop. You're
not gonna get to Dr. Rimka herself. Sorry.
You might, but I mean, it's still, I'm gonna be like, really? Anyway, let me say one thing, and I apologize for taking so long. This is something that concerns me. And I spoke with Danielle about it, and I'm like, I don't know exactly how to approach it, but I want to say this, and we're going to come up with a solution we don't have in a fair, egalitarian way. As a clinician for 20-something years, I have been deeply concerned about where people buy their supplements, and I'm seeing a lot of chatter. And I'm glad people are wanting to help each other and give each other suggestions, but I'm starting to see links being dropped in comment threads of things to Amazon. The counterfeit supplement industry is a multi-billion, maybe even hitting $1 trillion industry. There's one report that estimates that 1 in 3 supplements on Amazon is counterfeit. Mm-hmm. I beg you to never buy supplements on Amazon. They have no regulation on third-party sellers whatsoever. Amazon just a few years ago, it's a little bit of a side note, but I remembered it because they paid out 1.2, I don't know, million or something like that, because there were 4,000 violations in selling pesticides, unregulated pesticides that were illegal to be sold. 4,000 violations the EPA fined them for. They sold for 1.2 million. It's like nothing to Bezos. Okay. So they don't regulate, they don't control. I have patients that I'm like, they'll tell, oh, I got an Amazon. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I mean, it's like literally.
That's not always true because supplement companies, some of them do have their own Amazon shops. So I would recommend that if you are getting supplements from Amazon, just make sure you're getting it from that distributor's Amazon shop, and you should be fine as long as they're third-party tested.
Yeah.
Amy, I just have to comment real quick on Amy's comment. She said, Ashley, here's the sign that Awaken needs to fill all these supplement gaps. And I just have to do a quick pitch that it's coming. Some of these things that you guys have been saying in here, they're coming at our kickoff event. So make sure you're there. We've got you covered. And for what we don't have covered for right now, we'll get you covered. Dr. Rimka will help us out with that. Okay, I know we're over, so we're going to give us, though, this is probably, so that was so much important information. Oh, don't apologize, Dr. Rimka. Everybody in the chat's like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. I've been under eating my whole life. I don't think people really understand that one of the reasons they might be overweight is because they're starving themselves. So I think we hit on some really great things. And then this part, though, I think is so important. We're going to go into really setting the tone for your transformation journey. So Colin, Janie, I'm going to kick it off to you for the final 2 slides, and you guys open your ears, open your hearts, because allow these, what they're about to tell you, resonate with you so we can really kick off this journey together. Okay, all you guys.
Well, first of all, Dr. Rimka, that was a clinic. You guys got some really great information.
Yeah.
And the one thing you did say to a lot of great things that leads into our conversation. What is that?
Are you guys getting feedback?
It's weird. Feedback. Was that you said, the part you said that people have been talking crap to their bodies and basically beating up on their bodies and hating their bodies, and your body, all the stuff you've gone through in your life, all the stuff you put your body through, it's the one thing that's always keeps showing up for you.
They all wear sunglasses. Like, is that a prerequisite to being part of Awakened? Is this a thing? Is that why what is happening with the sunglasses inside at night? There wasn't a whole lot at the end of that call. I kind of zoned out because it was so boring. But now let's take a look at the actual 29-page nutrition plan. We are definitely not going to go through the whole thing because it's unnecessary, but I want to point out some things. Okay, so this is very much like a school textbook about nutrition, which is fine. I mean, that's good. We all need an understanding of how our body digests food, how it processes food. I think that's important. But I also think it's important to get it in small doses. This is 29 pages of pure overwhelm. It is talking about the leptin and insulin and how to raise your leptin levels and when to go to bed. It's just very in-depth, which again is fine. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But it's information overload. It's going to cause a lot of overwhelm, in my opinion, and it's going to cause a lot of failure, in my opinion. And I think that they are just setting people up for failure. I know I've said it multiple times during this whole video, but this is just affirming the fact that they are. Okay, so weekly goals. Let's look at what the weekly goals are for the 8 weeks. It says that weekly goals for week 1 is join the Z Community Facebook page for support, plug into our daily AwakendBODY classes and weekly nutritional coaching, choose an accountability partner, read over the meal guidance plan, increase your hydration, think about one thing that you want to release. This will start in week 2. And they give examples of alcohol, lattes, candy, bread, eating in front of a screen, eating in your car, fast food, etc. Focus on breakfast, high protein, 30 to 50 grams of protein, and don't eat after dinner. That's basically everything that they went over in that call that we just reacted to. So goals, the rest of the weeks they didn't really touch on. So goals for week 2, write down what you want to release for the next 4 weeks. Continue high protein breakfast, again, 30 to 50 grams of protein. Continue not eating after dinner. If you have yet, I think that's supposed to say, if you haven't yet, focus on also getting a high protein lunch. Again, 30 to 40 grams of protein. Goals for week 3, continue high protein breakfast and lunch. again, 30 to 50 grams of protein. Continue not eating after dinner, high protein lunch, remove one snack if still snacking. So the one thing that they added on for week 3 was to remove your snacking. Okay, and then week 4, continue high protein breakfast and lunch, no eating after dinner, focus on getting high protein dinner. So now you're getting your high protein dinner in, 30 to 50 grams of protein, and then remove all snacks if you're still snacking. So you are not allowed to snack at all. And you're waiting about 4 to 6 hours between each meal. This is not realistic, nor is it sustainable. And then for weeks 5 through 8, they have the same goals for those weeks, and that is continue high protein breakfast, lunch, and dinner, continue not eating after dinner, continue not to snack, and then find exciting ways to congratulate yourself. They give you a meal plan. Day 1, right off the bat, your protein goal is 140 grams of protein. That's a lot. And again, even this diet plan is pretty overwhelming. It's pretty bland, and it's boring as you can still snack and eat healthy. You can still have a piece of cake and eat healthy. You don't have to eat this specific bland way for the rest of your life to be healthy. This is so overwhelming, so toxic, all of the things that I've already said. So by the time you're at day 35, you're only eating 1,277 calories. They're telling you to drink hot water or herbal tea with fresh squeezed lemon juice or organic apple cider vinegar first thing in the morning. I mean, it has shown to be beneficial for your digestive system, but a simple glass of water is also going to be a great choice first thing when you get up in the morning. But by day 35, you have eliminated all of your snacks. And they are telling you to have a breakfast of 51 grams of protein with 380 calories. And what it consists of is a cup of yogurt and 2 scoops of protein powder, and then green tea or coffee with stevia and milk if desired. I would be so unsatisfied after that meal. And then you have to wait 4 to 6 hours to eat your lunch of 6 ounces of ground turkey and 1 cup of mushrooms, 1 cup of zucchini, and 1 cup of broccoli. Are you even living? And then your dinner is 8 ounces of chicken breasts, a green salad with lemon juice or balsamic vinegar, or coconut aminos, olive oil or MCT oil, and then a half a yam or sweet potato. So very restrictive. Don't recommend at all. It reminds me of the South Beach diet, and it also reminds me of the meal plans that are within Beachbody, now known as Body, where it's super restrictive and just like not realistic. If you think about people the demographic that is signing up for this type of thing, they likely have a whole family who isn't going to want to eat the shit that they are now having to eat. This is so unrealistic, so unsustainable. If you have been thinking about starting with Zenith or joining Awakend or getting in on this challenge, please don't. Please don't. There will be more videos to come about Awakend this week, actually. So make sure you're subscribed if you're not already. I would greatly appreciate it. It's the best way to support my channel. Also, hit the like button if you liked this video. If not, hit the dislike button. Engagement is cool either way. Again, stay away from Awakend. If you liked this video, go check out this one because I'm pretty sure you'll like that one too, and I will see you over there.